Hello and welcome viewers, you're watching In Depth with your host Kriti Mishra. The legislation expands the definition of vessels to include mobile offshore drilling units, submersibles and non-displacement crafts and introduces provisions for temporary registration of vessels destined for recycling aimed at boosting activity at hubs like Alang. The bill seeks to overhaul the Merchant Shipping Act of 1958 and align India's maritime laws with international conventions. Here's everything you need to know about this bill. Come along.
In a historic development, Parliament of India passed two landmark maritime bills, a first for the Ministry of Ports, Shipping and Waterways on 6th of August 2025, paving the way for a modern, efficient and globally aligned maritime policy framework in India. The Lok Sabha cleared the Merchant Shipping Bill 2025 aimed at streamlining maritime governance with a modern and internationally compliant approach. Meanwhile, the Rajya Sabha passed the Carriage of Goods by Sea Bill 2025, replacing a century-old colonial-era law with updated legislation designed to promote ease of doing business and make India's shipping sector future-ready. The Merchant Shipping Bill 2025, a progressive, future-ready legislation that replaces the outdated Merchant Shipping Act of 1958. The bill marks a significant step towards aligning India's maritime legal framework with global standards and strengthening the country's position as a trusted maritime trade hub. The bill represents a decisive step towards positioning India as a global leader in maritime trade and governance. It is a progressive and advanced legislation up to date with international maritime conventions and informed by best practices of leading maritime nations. The bill is a part of a series of major legal reforms undertaken over the past 11 years under the leadership of Prime Minister Modi, aimed at enabling robust growth in the shipping and maritime sectors. These reforms have significantly enhanced efficiency, transparency and global competitiveness. Highlighting the need for an updated framework, the Shipping Minister apprised Lok Sabha that the Merchant Shipping Act of 1958 had become bulky, fragmented and outdated, with 561 sections failing to address contemporary maritime challenges or fully implement India's obligations under several key international maritime organization conventions. The Merchant Shipping Bill 2025, with 16 parts and 325 clauses, modernizes India's maritime legal framework by aligning with international conventions, enhancing safety at sea, improving emergency response and ensuring environmental protection. It reduces compliance burdens, promotes Indian tonnage and prioritizes seafarer welfare and shipping safety. The bill aims to make India a globally respected maritime jurisdiction and unlock sustainable growth, investment and innovation in the sector.
I rise today to move particularly this Merchant Shipping Bill. It is a very advanced, progressive and modern legislation up to date with the International Maritime Convention and consisting of all relevant incorporation from global best practices of leading maritime nation in continuation of the series of legal reforms undertaken in the past 11 years by our ministry under the dynamic leadership of our Honorable Prime Minister Narendra Modi ji, which have led to increased growth and development for the maritime and shipping sector. And we are endeavoring to undertake reforms of other major laws governing the sector. It is also a matter of great pride that under the leadership of Honorable Prime Minister Narendra Modi ji, India has emerged as one of the largest supplier of seafarers. The Merchant Shipping Act 1958 presently governs merchant shipping in India and implements certain international maritime organization convention. However, the present act is outdated since it does not provide for some of the critical obligations under the international convention that have been adopted by India. The act is a bulky and fragmented legislation containing 561 sections as a result of various amendments carried out from time to time. the Act is no longer adequate to realize our developmental vision and address the contemporary challenges of the maritime sector. Additionally, the 1958 Act prioritizes regulation over enablement and, as a result, does not adequately represent the bankability of India as a maritime trade hub. Aligning the domestic law with international best practices and IMO convention leads to predictability in these transactions. Such alignment in turn enhances a country's bankability as a maritime jurisdiction. Therefore, enablement of increasing India's bankability in maritime sector is core focus of the bill. Thank you, madam.
प्रश्न यह है कि विधेयक पर विचार किया जाए। जो सदस्य इसके पक्ष में है वो हाँ कहें, जो सदस्य विरोध में है वो ना कहें। मेरे विचार में निर्णय हाँ वालों के पक्ष में हुआ, हाँ वालों के पक्ष में हुआ। विधेयक पर विचार करने के प्रस्ताव को स्वीकृत किया गया।
The bill intends to prevent marine pollution and protect India's coastline and related interests, and also provide for maritime liabilities and compensation, and promote accountability and transparency in investigation and enforcement procedures. Here are the highlights of the bill.
Mandatory registration of vessels. Under the Act, all sea-going Indian vessels must be registered except certain vessels which are not mechanically propelled, weighing below 15 tons and used only for navigating Indian coasts. The Act defines vessels to include any ships, boats, sailing vessels or other vessels used in navigation. The bill instead requires all vessels to be registered regardless of type of propulsion or weight. It expands the definition of vessels to include types such as mobile offshore drilling units, submersibles and non-displacement crafts. Ownership of Indian vessels. The Act specifies criteria for ownership of Indian vessels. Under the Act, an Indian vessel means a vessel wholly owned by a citizen of India, company or body established by or under Indian laws with its principal place of business in India, registered cooperative society. While the bill relaxes the criteria to include vessels which are partly owned by above persons and vessels wholly or partly owned by overseas citizens of India. The thresholds for ownership will be specified by the central government. The bill also clarifies that it will not be mandatory for vessels wholly owned by OCIs to register in India. Registration of certain foreign vessels. The bill adds that a foreign vessel chartered by an Indian person may be registered as an Indian vessel. This will apply where the ownership is intended to be transferred to the charter after a specified period. Registration for vessels to be recycled. The bill provides for temporary registration to unregistered vessels which are to be recycled in India. Authorities for regulation of shipping. The Act empowers the central government to appoint the Director General of Shipping. The government may delegate its powers and functions under the Act to the Director General. The bill retains these provisions. It renames the Director General as the Director General of Marine Administration. The Act establishes boards to advise the central government: the National Shipping Board for matters related to shipping and the National Welfare Board for seafarers to advise on welfare of seafarers. The bill retains these provisions. Regulatory body for security. The bill adds that the central government may create a new body to regulate security of vessels and ports. Regulation of training institutes. The Act requires certain officers on Indian vessels to be duly certified. The bill retains this provision. The bill empowers the Director General to regulate maritime education and training. This includes powers to approve training institutes and courses. Seafarer Agreement. The Act requires master in command of an Indian vessel to enter into an agreement with a crew member for formalizing terms of employment. The bill retains this provision and also allows following persons to enter into such an agreement: owner of Indian vessel, recruitment and placement service agencies for Indian or foreign vessels. The bill adds that seafarers will also have access to social security as prescribed by the central government. Pollution at sea. The Act requires certain Indian vessels to get a pollution prevention certificate, which certifies compliance with pollution-related regulations. This applies to all tankers of at least 150 gross tons and other vessels of at least 400 gross tons. The bill mandates this certificate for all vessels irrespective of tonnage. The bill retains several offences punishable with imprisonment, fine or both. These include concealment of nationality of the vessel, misconduct of a seafarer endangering life or vessel, taking a vessel to sea without required certified persons. The imprisonment term ranges between 1 month and 2 years. The bill increases fines for these offences. It also retains most offences punishable with civil penalty. These include fraudulently altering certain certificates and failure of a shipmaster to assist another ship in a collusion. The bill also decriminalizes some offences such as sending unseaworthy vessel to sea, failure to comply with directions of Director General. It also adds certain new offences. These include operating unlicensed recruitment agencies, which is punishable with imprisonment, fine or both, and discharging any harmful pollutants into the sea, which is punishable with civil penalty. The bill represents a decisive step towards positioning India as a global leader in maritime trade and governance. It is a progressive, advanced and modern legislation up to date with international maritime conventions and includes incorporations from global best practices of leading maritime nations.
Well, viewers, that's all we had for you in this edition. Thanks for watching and stay tuned to Sansad TV. Goodbye for now from my side.
To watch more programs of Sansad TV, subscribe to our YouTube channel and don't forget to like and share them.